Good evening. We are back after the international break on the Scottish Football Social Club after another exceptional weekend in the Scottish top flight and beyond. We're live on X and YouTube, and there's so many questions flying around in Scottish football at the moment, so don't hesitate to send some of yours in. We'll try and get through them in the next hour or so if we can, whether that's on Danny Rohl, the new Rangers manager. You'll get Alan Hutton's thoughts on that a bit later on, or indeed on Hearts flying high at the top of the table ahead of a huge game next weekend, or indeed on Celtic's form. Anything maybe beyond that too. Just send in your questions. We'll try and get through them. Got some brilliant guests coming on the show later on for any Rangers fans actually watching. And Alan, Rafa Honigstein, German journalist, agent, consultant, lots of different roles these days, is going to join us. And he knows Danny Rohl and his career very well, so he's going to give some real insight into what he might bring to Ibrox. But Alan and Michael here as always. They're also about to be joined by a Scotland international, so stand by for that. But first, a bit of business. The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you in association with SBK and Premier Sports. SBK, a betting app that cuts out the nonsense, just straight up sports betting for folk who actually care about the game. Proper odds, no gimmicks. So let's get our first guest in right now, dialing in from his new home in Thessaloniki, I believe. Greg Taylor is waiting in the wings. Here he is. Greg, great to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. How are you?
Yeah, well. Obviously, a really good result last night for the team that puts us top of the table. So it's been a good weekend.
We'll get into that. We'll get into lots more. But how is life in Greece? How's the weather? How are you adapting?
Yeah, I adapted really well. Family's here, so that helps. Obviously, you settle off the pitch, and the guys at the team are really nice, so that's helped you settle on the pitch. So no, I really do like it. Probably not played as regularly as I would have liked to start with, but these things take time, and the team's playing well, so just need to wait for the opportunity to come.
That's the thing when the team's playing well. But I guess there's always going to be a period of adaptation for any player that moves abroad, Greg. And do you think maybe that's a little bit what's happening right now?
Yeah, I think probably the boys had quite a settled squad, and we've made a few additions, but out with maybe a couple, it's been a pretty settled 11. So as you say, it just as a bedding in period, it's working hard every day. I know it's a cliche, but I'm just waiting on the opportunity to try and play a bit more regularly.
What a place to play football, though.
Amazing, yeah, it is. It's a really totally different and puts you right outside your comfort zone. I've played in Scotland my whole career, like never moved away from home, was always just 20 minutes away from my mum, dad, friends. So it's totally different, but it's a challenge I'm excited by, and I've signed here for 3 years, so it's I'm determined to make a success of it out here. So yeah, it is good.
That was what I was wanting to ask you, Greg, just in terms of obviously having been in Scotland your whole career or your whole life up to that point. How much has it been sort of an eye opener to be in a different country, day to day training away from there? How difficult is it to adjust and settle into that? And how much does, when you're actually playing, make such a huge difference to settling in off the park as well?
Yeah, Michael, I probably actually had more hesitations with the outside life of football when I was coming here. I didn't know what Greece would be like. I didn't know what I would be like, how my family would deal with it. I've got a newborn baby, so there were so many of these things that was playing in the back of my mind, and I probably thought the football will take care of itself. I know I'm a worker, I know I'll get in eventually, but it's actually been a wee bit roles reversed. The life outside of football, I've settled in really quickly. The place is amazing. A lot of people are English speaking, so it's helpful that way. I've got the odd Greek phrase, but I won't be doing that tonight.
Give us one.
Come on.
Yeah.
Malaka. Hey, Malaka.
Exactly.
Michael, don't you start.
Trust me. So no, that part of life's actually been really, really good, and it is just now about trying to play more regularly, because as you say, when you're playing well in the team, everything falls into place. It's the same with not just me; it's the same with any club. When your team's winning, it just seems to bring the place into harmony.
Greg, what's the football actually like over there? Because I know with Celtic, you're used to winning week in, week out, competing for trophies, silverware. Is it the same over there as as you're used to back in Scotland?
I think that's one good thing with PAOK, because they want the same. They've more recently they've had quite a bit of success, and this year's their 100 year anniversary. So they were quite determined to try and make this year a special one. So that pressure's still here, that every game you've got a lot of the ball, and you're expected to win. So that element I really liked before coming, and I've enjoyed that here because it's a similar pressure to Celtic. On terms of the actual football, it's a wee bit different. Like, we don't play quite as similar as we did at Celtic. Like, as you know, Celtic have a very, like, what's that, niche style of play, like fullbacks coming inside. There's not a lot of teams do it. Like, so there's been a bit less of that here, which obviously I naturally missed because it was a real strength of mine. But it's just about trying to adapt.
I mentioned. Yeah, I was just going to say, I mentioned, Greg, about what a great place it was to play football, but I was out there years ago working, I think it was at a UEFA Cup game or something. Don't worry, Michael, it's not one of your fancy holidays, right? I was there for work, okay?
You only goes to Scotland, so don't worry about that.
True, very true. But I was pitch side, honestly, and I was sitting, not far from play, but the noise behind me from the stand and the kind of explosions that would go off throughout the game, even the whole day being around town, the city, I was actually slightly fearing for my life after the game, Greg, being a foreigner, leaving the stadium because it was with a British team that night. But I mean, it's mental in places, but to be one of those players that they idolise and love, that must be really special.
I think I've only played 4 or 5 games, so I don't know if I'm quite one of the ones they idolise and love.
No, but they love their players, don't they? Whoever you are.
The fans are fanatical for sure. They really do. They live and breathe PAOK, and everyone you meet in the city, like, it's very similar to Glasgow in that respect. But the fans they really are pretty passionate, and I like that aspect. It's good. It means the only disappointing thing is, like, over the last few years, there's been a few incidents, so there's no away fans for, like, the derbies. So like, a few of my friends and my dad came out for the Olympiacos game, but it was good, the atmosphere. But, like, you missed, like, having both sides.
I was wanting to ask about Big Giacomakis. He obviously, a bit of roles reversed here. He was with you in Celtic in your home city, and now you're over in Greece. Is he helping you to settle in at all?
No, he is, to be fair. He started off helping me, and now he's in with the Greek lads, and he can't be bothered with me anymore. So no, Jacko's a great lad. Spoke to him before he came, and an amazing striker. So when he was talking of coming, I knew it'd be a brilliant addition for the team, first of all, and then obviously for me, for selfish reasons, it's a familiar face, and it's nice to have someone that you know. So yeah, we've hung out a wee bit outside of football here and there, but we don't get many days off in between the international breaks, so there's not all that many opportunities. And
during the international break, hopefully you've been able to noise up a few of the Greeks over the result. Maybe not the performance, but the result.
No, I think they've obviously had a disappointing campaign for what they expected, because they've got a really, like, young, exciting team, and no more than Giannis in our team, the number 10. He's an amazing talent, so I think they were obviously a bit disappointed with the results. But for a Scotland fan and a Scotland player, it was a really good couple of results.
Yeah, and what about Scotland? Obviously, Greg, you've had to watch on those games. You'll be hoping to get back in the squad sooner rather than later. Is that just a case of keeping in touch with Steve Clarke and also making sure that they know what you're doing, and hopefully that'll become more consistent playing time, and that might get you closer to the international setup again?
Your club form, I think, first of all, is the most important. Like, you need to be playing regularly before you even think about your country. I've been lucky enough to play quite a few times for Scotland, and I love it every time I get the opportunity. I've had hard competition in my position for sure, but I do need to be probably playing more regularly, and when I'm playing regularly, playing well. So, and then normally that takes care of itself. But yeah, I've got a brilliant relationship with the manager at Scotland, so it's nothing that I'm too concerned about.
Well, fingers crossed for you moving forward in that regard. Anyway, some massive games to come next month too for Scotland, clearly, and World Cup hopes for all of us are high at the moment. Right, I want to talk Celtic. I also want to talk Scottish football with you, because I know you're watching the odd game here and there, but what about the league so far this season? Hearts clear at the top, the way Rangers have been. They finally appointed a manager today, and Celtic indeed as well. And I think quality across the board seems to be pretty strong. Greg, what have you made of it all from afar?
Yeah, because we play a bit later, like on Sundays, I've actually had the opportunity to watch quite a bit of certainly the Celtic games. As I said to you off camera, that I watched the Hearts game for the first time there, and they looked really strong. They did. They finished the second half like they were playing some really good football, and all the players, you could tell, were really high in confidence. So no, I think it's an exciting period for them. Celtic, of course, I watch on and hope they do well. There's been parts of performances that have been really, really strong, and then as you've seen, obviously there's been bits that they know that they can improve on for sure. But I don't think it's anything that I'd be too concerned on, because I know that the quality in that changing room will eventually shine through.
Greg, do you feel like the quality that is there for them to go on and claw back the difference between Hearts? Do they have enough this season to go on and win again?
Yeah, I would say so, Alan. There's, of course, everyone spoke about transfer windows, new players, and we touched on it even on myself. Like, there is bedding in periods, of course. It's boys coming to a new country. But at Celtic and Rangers, you don't really get that bedding in period. Straight away you're judged, and that can be difficult. But it's also when you're winning and playing well, there's not a better place to play football. So I'm sure as time goes on and the rhythm comes back and a few players back fit, like these things normally do take care of themselves, and I'd be expect Celtic to be, if not right up there, as soon as possible.
Greg, you were obviously, I mean, just to take it back to your time at Celtic and just getting an idea of every summer you're looking at new players coming in or lack of players coming in. Can you think of any year in particular where there was perhaps a sort of slight apprehension of, you know, we've not done the business quick enough, or, you know, the guys that have come in, geez, they're hitting I can think off the top of my head, for example, when Ange first came in, that first year, where it was a big turnover of players, but almost every one of them that came in, they were a starter, they made a huge impact on the team, and how much that helps you as a guy that's already there. And then conversely, the other side of what's happened this summer, it's not happened quickly. How does that affect the players that are already at the club?
Yeah, I think personally, there always seemed to be left backs coming in, so I knew that.
Don't worry about it. That used to happen with me all the time. There was right backs coming in to right, left, and centre.
That didn't ever seem an issue. So there was always competition, certainly for me. So primarily, I focused on me and trying to make sure that I kept the jersey or got the jersey or whatever situation it was. On players coming in, yeah, obviously good players help. I remember, as you said, that window, I think on the last day we signed Jota, Jacko and Cameron.
Vickers.
So exactly, so like that really helped us kick on at that point in time. The three of them made massive impacts. So of course you want signings to do that. You want them to make massive impacts, and you know yourself, you've all played in changing rooms, you instantly judge players the first few times they're training. Like, that is just natural. Like, that'll be happening to me at PAOK, it'll be happening at Celtic, it'll be happening at Hearts. Like, so boys will be also eager to try and impress their teammates, never mind the manager and their fans. So I think it's a difficult period just now, but it's one that the experienced guys in the changing room, I'm sure, will be taking lead on.
In saying all that, because exactly what you've just said, you know the guys in that changing room, the majority of them still, Greg. I assume you still keep in touch with plenty of them as well. There's lots of time to go in the Premiership season, no doubt that can be turned around. But the Champions League, given what you did last season in the Champions League and how close you got, that disappointment is really tough to stomach. And I'm sure you've also seen the knock-on effect, how angry some of the fans were by the performance as well. I mean, can you understand it? You know those Celtic fans well. You know the players in the dressing room. Can you understand frustration probably coming from all around? I know. And maybe are you surprised to see this given what happened last season?
Yeah, as you touched on, like I can speak on last season that it was a really positive campaign in the Champions League. I think the new format everyone really enjoyed, and it was successful for us. We picked up some really good results, and I think with doing that and having such a good season last year, the boys and the manager and the team would have been eager to do that again, if not more. So, of course, that was a disappointing result. It was a result that the team were expected to win, but it's done now. Like, you're now in the Europa League, and it's about the same as PAOK. It's about trying to give it the best opportunity you can there. Excuse me.
When you look at the quality in the squad and some of the new signings to come in as well, you do wonder, is it a matter of time, Greg? But one thing, when I even said tonight on social media, you were coming on the show and Premier Sports posted as well, the number of messages I've had from Celtic fans saying, you know, how much they miss you and how much they've missed you this season, actually, in the team as well. I mean, I know it's in the past now, but it must still be nice to hear. It must bring back the memories as well. Yeah,
it does. And of course, it's nice that people miss you and people respected what you did, because there was definitely periods in my career at Celtic that probably people didn't think I was up to, or they wished for someone else. Like, that is the truth of the matter. So it's nice to feel that way, but equally it's a period that's now done. I can look back on with amazing times. I won so many trophies, played so many games, and had so many amazing memories with my friends and family, like, who enjoyed it with me. So it's a club that I really love, and I still watch on and hope that they create more memories for themselves.
It's probably something that you watch, is like you spoke about it earlier, the actual position that you played. I mean, you don't normally, I was a fullback as well, I could never have done that, and it's probably something that they really miss. You think of Sriracha, Tierney, how they play, it's not that role, so it's probably trying to get used to that situation as well, because as you said, you played a lot of games there and was very successful.
Exactly, it's a totally different way of playing for many a player. Like, it's we when Ange first came in and we played with the fullbacks inside, it definitely didn't look like how it did at the end. It was at periods of time it was me and Tony were crossing over. It was honestly it wasn't all plain sailing for sure. But as time went on and we probably developed the system, that it was the pre-season in America where Brendan was the manager that we really did quite a bit of work on it, building with the three, and me and Callum been like the two like number sixes, and it was amazing to play in. Like, we played Man City, we played Chelsea, and we honestly we battered them. It was really exciting. So from then on in, it was an amazing system to play in, and of course it's a new team with new players, and I'm sure the manager and the coaching staff will be trying to develop it a way to suit the players there now.
Greg, see when Ange first floated this idea, what was going through your head?
Excitement, to be honest, because I played midfield when I was younger. So I thought, this is something I think can be really good for me. Like, up until that point, when Ange came in my Celtic career, I'd played many games. Like, we'd had the COVID situation where we knocked off. We won that league, but it was shut early. We obviously had the disappointing season. So like, my Celtic career had been a bit up and down. And then when Ange came in, like, it was a chance for me to put my own stamp on what could be an amazing time in my life and career. And I think that system and that platform managed to give me that.
I know what would be going through my head, Mikey. You're not playing.
That was me in a 3-5-2.
Honestly, mate, see if I get asked to go in and play midfield, I'm better sitting over there. That's me done. I can't do that, so fair play.
It's interesting you talking about, obviously, the American pre-season with Brendan as the manager, because it definitely did evolve into that, where you'd go inside alongside Callum McGregor and just start getting the ball popping about, moving the opposition. It made the overloads in there, and it definitely looked slightly different from when it first was introduced. Do you think, and I know it's a difficult one for you, do you think Callum McGregor at the moment is having to adapt with you not being there?
Yeah, like, for sure Callum will be adapting, but Callum's an unbelievable player. Like, I was lucky enough to play with Callum. It wasn't a case of Callum was lucky to play with me. That's the truth of the matter. Like, the guy is, like, unbelievable. Yeah, but it will be. It's a different system. Like, me and Callum played so close together in there, so there were so many like different options. We communicated really well. We had an amazing relationship on the pitch and off. So no, I think the team will be definitely different, and Callum will be having to change his game slightly for that. But Callum also played as a number 8 when we played in a back 3 or back 5 under Neil Lennon. So he's a player that can be pretty flexible. It's just that it might be a bit different this season, yeah.
I know this is all a new start for you and a great lifestyle you've got out there, I'm sure, but is there just a small part of you that misses it when we're talking about all these,
for sure,
these great moments past? Yeah, for
sure. Like, it was an amazing time in my life, in Scotland as my home. Like, my friends, my family are like still there, so you'd be lying if you said like, oh no, I'm in Greece and I love it like here and I don't think about Scotland. Of course you do. Like, naturally, like, I had played so many games at Celtic and loved it as well. So you watch on like with a bit of envy when they're winning, and then obviously when it's not going so well, you think it's nice to be away.
Final one you mentioned, because you mentioned Big Ange, right? And obviously we know what happened at the end at Celtic, but who knows what's going to happen with Brendan Rodgers at the end of the season? He's out of contract. We've all seen what's happened to Big Ange down in England. Do you think at some point in the future, Greg, Ange will be back at the club? And who knows, you might be back with him, with all doors open.
Jesus. Now,
I've thrown everything at you.
Exactly. I don't even know where to start with that. Like, that, there's so many hypotheticals there. Right now, Brendan's the manager and doing an amazing job, and I'm sure who knows what will happen come the end of the season. A guy who I've got so much respect for. So yeah, and I've got I've just signed a contract with PAOK, and I'm excited to try and make a success here of it. So I think the hypotheticals seem a long way away.
Oh, listen, they do. That's what we do in this show, Greg. And
Yeah, well, the
actually
rumour
was so
mill
good.
said that it was close to Rangers. That was the rumour mill. That's what we heard.
Hey,
So it doesn't have to answer it. I'm
Alan
just saying.
talked you. Alan talked you up for.
I was not close.
I'm just saying.
The silence says it all there.
No,
Listen,
no, it's not silence. I was not close. Let's get that.
Okay, right.
That's put to bed, Al. It's put to bed.
Right, okay.
Anyway, he's got a future in broadcasting. The way he's avoided that Ange question there was absolutely tremendous. Brilliant. Listen, Greg, thank you so much, mate. And we're watching on closely. We're hoping you, first of all, get in the team, play regular football, get back in the national team as well. We're all wishing you well, mate. So keep in touch. We'll let you go for now, and hopefully we'll see you again in the show later in the season.
Cheers.
All the best.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Greg.
See ya.
Good man. Right, listen, we've got so much to get through, and as I said, we've got Rafa Honigstein coming on soon, so let's get through the highlights. Dundee Celtic, I think we've done a lot of Celtic chat there. Michael, what a performance by Stephen Presley's men. A win that he really needed. This could turn everything for them.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, look, first of all, the dynamic of the game against Celtic is always going to be slightly different. But the thing that's key here for Dundee is that the elements of the game that will remain the same for them whenever, in terms of defending well, difficult to break down and play against, having a real threat on the counter attack with Congreve and Ethan Hamilton in particular, because I thought they carried the ball brilliantly. I think those elements of the game were there, and there's no reason why they should change. So, as much as Celtic games can be different, there's definitely aspects of this game from Dundee's perspective that they can take huge confidence from and look to replicate it in the games going forward. It's a massive win for them, and thoroughly deserved, by the way. Thoroughly deserved.
Yeah. Especially after the first 45 minutes, maybe rode their luck a little bit in the second half, but after the first 45, Al, they put themselves in a great place, deservedly so.
Of course. I mean, I think the first half Celtic didn't even have a shot target. You're going to have a little bit of luck as well, and you're going to have to put bodies in the line. Your keeper's going to have to make big saves, but I thought they got it right. There's been times where we've spoke about Dundee, how they're a little bit too defensive. They didn't have that threat going forward, or they were a little bit open. I think they got it just right. And like Mikey says, of course it's going to be different against Celtic. You're going to have to soak up a lot of pressure. But when you have the ball, I thought they broke with pace. They were a threat and deservedly got the 2 goals and won the game. So great performance by them. Poor from Celtic, though.
Yeah, as for Celtic, it's a head scratcher, Michael, because didn't see too many of those performances last season at all. And this season there's been a few, but it's the story that rumbles on, I think, because the fans' protests are there again, the dissatisfaction from the stands, the position they're in Europe at the moment. This game against Sturm Graz is enormous during the weekend. I don't know, there's so many players playing, I guess, nowhere near their best form, Michael. Why is this all coming together, this almost perfect storm at the moment?
Well, it's difficult to, in terms of, you can't point the finger at one thing, because it's just simply not that. It's a multitude of things. I think you take it back to the summer, and that was why I was, trying to ask Greg about that in regards to his time at the club. But Alan and I will tell you, when you're in a changing room and you know that good players have left, and they're not being replaced immediately, that has a huge negative effect on the players that are still there. And I think you can see that has definitely seeped into the performances of the guys that are there, mainstays of the team. The second thing I would say with regard to that is that Brendan Rodgers himself spoke about how at Celtic, there's a lot of players that are on like a 3-year cycle. They come in, establish themselves, do really well, and potentially they move on, and then the next group of guys come in. Well, there's a core of that team who are quality players who have lived beyond that 3 years. And perhaps there's just a little bit of, they need the fresh blood to come in to keep them, active and excited and challenged. And I just think that summer transfer window has been at the heart of a lot of the problems, in terms of they've not brought in quality quick enough that needs to fill the gaps that have been left, but also the impact that lack of activity and the lethargy in doing the deals is seeped through into the performances of the players. And the final thing I would say in all that is that I don't think there's any doubt that it has affected the mindset of the manager.
Yeah.
I mean, for Brendan Rodgers yesterday to come out and comment about, going into a race and getting in the car with keys to a Honda Civic and expecting to drive it like a Ferrari. I mean, seriously, I get the point he's trying to make. And by the way, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with it in its entirety. But as a player there at the moment, he's basically
Gaffer called me a Honda Civic. That's what he's saying. I used to have a Ferrari and now I've got a Honda. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's also damning though, Michael. It's damning for the board as well. It's damning for the fans as well. So you'd have to assume now there can't be much of a future under Brendan Rodgers at Celtic. The way this discourse is playing out now.
No, I genuinely at the start of the season and the way things were, I genuinely thought that had things worked out well, I think he would have been open to staying.
Agreed. Yep.
But the way things have panned out, I don't think there's any chance. And I do think that Brendan Rodgers, the way he is at the moment, the two things, the way the club have been run and the way that he's now, well, you could say understandably underwhelmed with it all. I don't think that is I think it's a very, very dangerous situation for Celtic to be in, because you've got all of this campaign, but it just feels like they're treading water a little bit. There's no real dynamism. And that's dangerous.
Yeah, agreed. Listen, we've got a lot to rush through. We didn't get a chance to talk to Greg Taylor about Ike Athens because we ran out of time with him. But what he was saying for any Aberdeen fans who are watching now ahead of their game in Europe this week, that Pout played them last night, beat them, but a very good team. So another tough test for the Dons this Thursday, Michael, you'll be looking forward to. Let's get on to Aberdeen then, because it's looking a bit better now, isn't it, Michael? A win away at St Mirren, a game that maybe could have gone either way, but a big, big moment at the end that just lifts the spirits again from the fans' point of view after what was a good win before the international break too.
Yeah, well, goals obviously are crucial. I mean,
especially late goals.
Oh, of course it is. I mean, Carlson very, very close there. The two key moments are obviously St Mirren's goal that's disallowed, which rightly so. I think that it's offside in the end. Obviously, before this, the element was looking at, and he is interfering with the play.
Looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a fair enough call. Understandable, it wasn't given at the time, and then for Lazetic to score so late on, it's a huge bonus for Aberdeen, and it's a ground that they've not got favourable memories from. They've not got a good record against St Mirren there. So that's a big, big victory for them to be able to get another 3 points in the back of the strong performance that they had against Dundee before the international break. And by the way, what a goal it is! I mean,
what a goal!
Touch of class.
No, it is, Mikey. Remember Berbatov's goal for Man U? I think it was against West Ham. As soon as I seen it, I was like, that's what it reminds me of. But see that feeling for them. Like they've had such a slow start. So back-to-back wins, probably from the Shakhtar game, where they've actually started to see a little bit of momentum, even though they get beat. To go back-to-back, win 1-0, the 4-0, I mean, that just raises everything up. It just gives you that lift. They were getting those sort of results last season, if you remember, when they're on that incredible run. So maybe this is a turning point for them.
Yeah, and some fans, some of the points being made, I can see in some of the comments coming in tonight are on that. It looks like it has turned. Just very briefly, Michael, because you did speak to Greg Taylor before we were live tonight. What chance do you give Aberdeen and Athens?
Well, I mean, look, it's obviously going to be very difficult. PAOK beat them 2-0 last night in Athens, and that's put PAOK top of the table. And I know how the quality that PAOK have got. European tie, away from home, it's going to be very difficult. There's no question of that. But you think about the performance that Aberdeen put in against Shakhtar and how fragile they were going into that game. They're certainly in a far better mental state now, confidence-wise, going into this game in Athens. And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that they'll be able to get something out of it.
Fingers crossed. Absolutely. You can get back on track in that competition. On to Motherwell against Falkirk. Alan, I was watching the extended highlights. Motherwell again creates so many opportunities in the game. Don't take some of them, but credit to Falkirk, the way they turn things around, and your mate Scott Arfield popping up with a vital goal.
They just don't go away. I mean, it's quite as simple as that. But we're saying the same things about Motherwell. Brilliant first half side there. Look, I think this gets chopped off. I thought it was quite harsh. I don't think there was a lot in the tackle there on Spencer. I don't see.
That's never a foul. That's
never a foul.
So for me, it's a great run, good finish, and that could have been the difference. But what my point is, we've seen this so many times in Motherwell, how well they play. They create so many opportunities. You want to just see them put a team to the sword, put their foot down, go and score 2-3 goals because they're capable. I mean, Masvanisi there, we know he's capable of that. But fair play to Falkirk. They never give up. We know how they want to play. Get the ball wide. McKeever knocks it down. Miller with a great finish. And then they create more opportunities. They grow into the game. And it seems like then Motherwell fall out a little bit. I mean, they've lost some amount of points from winning positions.
12, I think I saw.
And I honestly think that's a problem, like a real problem. So you can play the nicest football as you want, but they're not getting points out of it. And
brilliant finish that to go over the ball.
But we know he can do that. We've seen him do it for years. But I love the way Falkirk are in terms of, we know how they want to play. They want to get the ball wide. They want to get it into the box. They've got a threat there. But Motherwell, it's just like they're missing something. You see so much good come from them, but they just don't get their foot down, get it over the line.
Yeah, and no time for me for a VAR rant, by the way, Michael. No time to bring you in that game either, because it was a really poor decision, and these are decisions that swing matches. But anyway, on to Hibs, Livy, Michael. I think this was a kind of result that was coming for the men from Easter Road. With the talent they've got in the team, and Clegia, we were wondering when he would come to the fore.
Yep.
It all came together in this game.
I couldn't agree more about everything you've just said there about Hibs. They needed it. They've been on the cusp for a while. I mean, realistically, Hibs should be sitting second in the table, by the way. You know, they're third at the moment, and they've dropped an unbelievable amount of points where they really shouldn't have. So, I mean, they've only got themselves to blame for that, by the way, but they should be sitting second in the table. And I think that this shows you they've got a good balanced team. They've got strength and depth. They just need it all to sort of click together. And Hoyle obviously coming off the bench and scoring 2 goals. Cleachy starting and scoring a cracker. I mean, it all just came together nicely for them. And Hibs should feel pretty good about themselves, even though hugely disappointing that they've dropped, so many points this season that they really shouldn't have. But for Livy, the concern is obviously they're drifting in the wrong direction, really.
Yeah, there's a point coming in about Clegia has to start going forward with Bowie and Boyle.
Big games really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
It does, and what a front two that could be, and potentially a massive game, of course, this weekend that you guys, I'm sure, will be at as well, which we're looking forward to against Aberdeen in Premier Sports. And Livy, again, we can talk about them another week. I know there was a change of shape and it didn't quite work, and maybe the better days ahead for David Martindale and his men. On to the game you guys were at live in Premier Sports at the weekend. Kilmarnock Hearts. You heard what Greg Taylor said. He was watching on from afar, really impressed with the Jambos. To go to Killie and to win like that, Michael, I think, is the outstanding bit about this, because not many teams do this.
No. Again, I couldn't agree more with what you said there. I think that there's probably a lot of people that are looking at this game and thinking, right, well, this is probably when the first result goes against Hearts and they drop points. There was a fair bit of pressure, expectations growing for Hearts, but I thought they handled it brilliantly. They stepped up to the plate, and the overall performance was absolutely brilliant, because Killie started really well. Hearts had to weather the storm to begin with, and then they just got that first goal from a set piece, and bit by bit started to work their way into it. I mean, that's great feat.
I love that finish. Class.
Brilliant. And his first finish, when it rebounds back to him, not easy, because you're having to react quickly.
A bit like the Scott Arfield one. You've got to get over it, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, look, from Hearts' perspective, absolutely fantastic result. The performance, as Greg was talking about, was impressive, because I thought by the end of the game, they really were knocking the ball about, looking like an impressive side.
Mikey, do you not think I thought they looked really strong, right? And results will show you that. Clean sheets, everything. They're sitting top with 5 points. They grew into that game. They were excellent. They're so strong, like well drilled. But I just feel like, see on the right hand side, I think you spoke about it in commentary. See if they could get that nailed down to how obviously Dale sees it moving forward. They are a massive problem for a lot of teams out there. I thought
With
they
the
were
potential to
excellent.
bring in more players in January and others like Chesnikov to come. And as you to come back from injury, Michael, and Kabori scoring goals for his country.
So Chesnikov is what I think they view as the solution to the right-hand side. You know, obviously, Harry Milne's not a right midfielder. He's not a right winger, but he's doing all right at the moment.
Not half.
Likewise, McEntee at right back, he's doing a job and doing it pretty well because the whole collective unit is working well. But right back, right midfield is two of the positions they really need to look at. Chesnikov's coming in January. Aju, obviously, in the middle of the park as well. Now, this is the guy.
Some big decisions, by the way. See, when you think about it, like, who are you taking out? I know he's going to put him in. Aju's going to go in because he speaks so highly of him, but that's a big decision to make.
It is. And it is this, you know, there's definite competition for places. There's a big squad. As you just mentioned there, Darrell Kabori scoring, I think it was a hat-trick he scored.
It was.
For his country. So, and, you know, there's real, you know, so if things are not working for Hearts, there are genuine options on the bench for them to look to. And the other thing that, you know, I don't think anybody can sort of ignore is that Tony Bloom is clearly going to be looking at this and thinking, come January, what do we need? Because whatever his projections were for the next 10 years in terms of wanting to win the title a few times, or within the next 3 years wanting to surpass Rangers and get into second, that's now in his sights.
Why not first? Why does it have to be second? Why
unbelievable. So negative, Al, isn't it?
Rangers all the time.
Sorry, what's the problem?
Because you keep saying second. Outdo Rangers and be second. Why not just go for first?
Well,
listen, you know, win this weekend, Ali might change his tune.
Well, maybe.
Progression. The point being that you've got all the sort of foundational pieces in place. You've got a manager that knows how to win games in the league. You've got a talented domestic spine that are very, very strong. You're starting to add these little bits of unknown quality and quantity into the squad. I mean, Braga's come from the second division in Norway.
The recruitment is incredible with Braga.
Yeah.
Aye. And, you know, it's not like he's technically unbelievable, but he's a really effective player. Scores goals, runs his absolute backside off and works so hard for the team.
Like a Nacho Novo type, that pest.
Aye. And Kizaridis is obviously starting to get into a rhythm now as well and looks like a guy that can make a difference. And then you've got many others that are, you know, on the cusp. Aju being the one that the manager goes on about. I mean, the way he talks about him.
I know, on the show.
It really makes you think that this guy's going to be a difference maker as well.
Alan, who's going to win this weekend?
I'm going to go Hearts.
Oh. If Hearts win, Michael, you're changing your tune. Are you all about first place?
No, but it's too early to be talking
about
that.
Come on. Just get carried away with yourself for a second.
No, what we tell you was amazing that the fans were getting carried away. It was brilliant to see. We were right next to them, 4,000 strong, sell out, singing the whole 90 minutes. They were so with the team, and that you want them to dream. It's been an amazing league so far.
After the game? What was he like after the game, Al? Was he playing it down?
He always plays it down, doesn't he? He's always trying to be on the fence instead of just coming off it once in a while. Like Charlie Mulgrew decided at the start of the game that Kelly was winning.
I heard that.
So that was his opinion. I said, not for me. And then Mikey sits in the fence. So,
do you know the thing about talking about Sunday? Like genuinely, right? That if you think about the way Celtic are at the moment, there's nothing for Hearts to fear at home.
No.
At Tynecastle, you should be looking at physically getting right on top of them. You know what Dundee, were looking to do. And
what they done to Rangers, and that was at Ibrox.
Aye. So I mean, Hearts psychologically and just the way that everyone's set up, this couldn't be a better time for Hearts to be welcoming Celtic to Tynecastle with the opportunity of going 8 points clear. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, what an opportunity. Right, listen, let's have a quick look at Rangers Dundee United highlights then. Hopefully we'll bring Rafa Honigstein in off the back of that. What did you make of this performance from Rangers, Al, at Ibrox, going ahead in the game? It looked like the shackles were off for a few minutes.
See, to be fair, Yeah, I mean, I was happy with the first half performance. Yes, Dundee United had one or two opportunities. I didn't think Dundee United were great first half. They
No,
definitely
weren't.
grew into it. But for me, Ant-Man, Asgard, Gassama, it was like Stevie Smith had said to him, go and show everybody why this club brought you here. Go and play with a freedom. If there's an opportunity to take somebody on, go and do it. They had shots from outside the box that were very rarely seen. And when there was an opportunity to play for the back, they did. But if they could get it forward quickly and go and hurt Dundee United, that's exactly what they tried. The problem being in the second half, I don't know if they're just anxious about something or they can feel the pressure from the crowd. When something doesn't go quite right, they revert back to what we've always seen. And I think defensively, there's a number of problems. You'll even see here, nobody's really taking charge of the situation. Nobody's coming out and getting a... No, it is. It's a wonder strike. But I'm just saying, can you get closer? Can you go and affect it? And then they struggle and they could have genuinely lost it at the end. Like they could have got beat. So, I mean, they're lucky in a way to come out of it with a point. First half, happy with. Second half, back to what we've seen all season.
That was more like it from Dundee United, by the way, second half. Maybe the Dundee United of earlier this season. Right, Danny Rohl confirmed as Rangers manager after, I'm not even sure what you can say about the recruitment process, Al, that played out in public. It was shambolic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But just on the new manager, first of all, you'll hear more about him in a minute, by the way, from Rafa Honigstein. But are you happy?
I'm not sure at this moment in time. Look, every appointment, you don't really know how it's going to work out. Yes, look, he's very young. He's been at big clubs under decent managers that you would like to think he's learnt a lot from. For everything that Barry Bannon said about him, he came into Sheffield Wednesday when they were kind of down and out. He picked him up really quickly. All this sort of thing. So, look, it's a difficult one to know. I mean, I'm looking forward to Rafa coming on and hearing what he's got to say. We'll know more about him and everything that goes along with it. But they have to get this right. It's been a nightmare. The Gerrard situation was nailed on. Then they moved on. You know what's up with Muscat and why he can't come, because he can't be there until December. So that's just an absolute nightmare scenario.
Was it just that, Al? These are the questions now. Was it just that? Or was it wanting to work within the current structure? Because that was the same for Gerrard. This is the problem, isn't it?
He steps away from it.
Correct.
And now he comes back in. So I don't know. Aye. And out. You know what I mean?
And maybe in out for the board as well. And I think that's what some of the fans are commenting on tonight. The position of Thelwell and Patrick Stewart as well at the moment.
You have to look at that. I'm sorry.
This has to be the right appointment now. And it also, the fans know it wasn't the first choice or even the second choice. And that's the issue.
Everything, anyway, Darrell, we've spoken about it, recruitment, everything has not been good enough. Thelwell, Stewart, everything that we've seen so far has not been great. Right. Let's not sugarcoat.
Should we bring Rafa in in the midst of this storm? Because I believe he's waiting now to come on the programme. Rafa Honigstein, agent turned consultant, German football expert. He does a bit of everything, Rafa. First of all, how are you doing, mate?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I know you've got some great insight. You've probably just heard what Alan said, and you know a lot about this recruitment process and how it's played out in the public at Rangers. But just on Danny Rohl, Rafa, what can you tell Rangers fans and Alan watching on tonight about him that he might bring to Ibrox?
Well, I know Danny a little bit, and I'm not entirely unbiased because I really like him. I think he's a very talented manager. But of course, this is a huge job to step into. And I think we'll have to find out whether his undoubted tactical acumen and his man management skills, which I think are really, really good, judging from what I know from his past in Germany, but also how he was able to work with a Sheffield Wednesday team that didn't exactly burst with individual talent and managed to get very decent results in very, very difficult circumstances. So that would have prepared him somewhat for what he's in for at Rangers. But of course, the expectations are very different. It's not about surviving. It's about really challenging and perhaps winning things. But I think as a manager, in terms of his craft, in terms of his ability, I can understand why he really convinced in the interview. I understand why people are willing to give him a good look. He talked to a lot of big clubs in the summer in Germany. He was on everybody's shortlist because he's very highly rated. And you never quite know until you start working, of course, if it's a good fit. But I think in terms of paper, in terms of raw ability as a manager, I think he's got a lot to be successful.
Interesting you say that, Rafa. So it obviously didn't happen in Bundesliga terms for him in the summer. Was it a matter of time, you think, then, before he did land a significant role in Germany? And therefore, from the Rangers' point of view, could this actually turn out, maybe he wasn't the first choice, but could it be turning out a lot better than some of the fans might think?
Yeah, look, I think it's never going to look good if, first of all, somebody who said no then comes back and says yes.
Yeah,
that's not a great start. We know that he wasn't first choice, but we've often seen managers who are not first choice but still end up being the right choice. I think that's going to be more relevant going forward, whether he was first, second, or third. Once they start playing, once you see an identity, once you see a kind of pattern of what he wants to do, and if he gets help in the transfer market to reinforce what he thinks is necessary, I think he can do a very good job. Just judging by the ability and by his experience, he is, of course, an unknown quantity at this level. He's never had to face that kind of pressure, never had to face that kind of media landscape. It's very, very different. Even in a big football city like Sheffield, it's not quite the same compared to Glasgow, especially with the expectations there and all these sort of political factors, if you will, that go into it as well. So he will have to find out himself if he's quite ready for it. Maybe when he said no initially, apart from having to take over in the middle of the season, which is never really good, and perhaps he wanted ideally to go in the summer or maybe in January, where there's a bit more time to prepare somewhere else. But I think he'll find out himself pretty soon if that was the right choice. All I can say is when he took over Sheffield Wednesday, I remember thinking, wow, of all the clubs to choose in the Championship, that is quite a brave stroke, perhaps foolish decision. But he did enough, even under, I would really say, impossible circumstances, to enhance his reputation, to show people he can coach, and to put himself in a position where bigger clubs are interested in him. And I think that says a lot about who he is and what he can do.
Rafa, was that the reason he stepped away originally? Because it was like eight games into a season? Would he have preferred to wait for the timing for him to be better? Was that the reason?
No, he had to step away because the club stopped paying his wages, which I think is a pretty good reason to stop coaching.
No, I mean Rangers. Rangers.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
I misunderstood. I thought, why did he step down at Sheffield?
Do you think it was? Do you think it was timing, Rafa, or do you think it's because he knew perhaps at that point someone else might be offered the job?
I think it was a bit of a timing issue. I think he wasn't ideally looking to take over under these circumstances with no time to prepare. In the middle of the season, you can't even shape anything in terms of the transfer window. It's my feeling. I haven't talked to him about this decision. Okay. It's my feeling that he would have preferred a slightly more sort of orderly way into the next job. But then again, he's backing himself to do a job. He knows it's going to be problematic. He knows that the atmosphere isn't exactly conducive to harmony and full sort of support from everyone pulling in the right direction at the club at the moment. But he thinks he's good enough in the day-to-day work with the players to play better football. And I think that says a lot about who he is, who he thinks he can be as a manager. And I think we should see that as something very positive. He really has belief in himself and his ability to, even under these less than perfect circumstances, to be successful.
Yeah. He's a very young man. Go on, Michael.
Would it be fair to say that this job and this opportunity for Danny Rohl at Rangers could make or break him as a manager?
Yes, but I think he's young enough to make mistakes, and I think even if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, I don't think that's going to be the end of his career. I think he has got so much goodwill from his previous work, so much credit in the bank from the success he had, albeit mostly, of course, as an assistant coach, but showing enough even at Sheffield Wednesday, I think, for people to think, wow, it's a normal club. He can probably be a good coach. I think he will always get offers. But of course, if it doesn't work out, then people will think twice about giving him that kind of opportunity. But again, I think if you look at Sheffield Wednesday, and on paper it looks, 1.3 points on average, that doesn't scream like superstar coach, but people are willing to look at the context, looking into the conditions, and saw enough from him to think that this is somebody who can coach under very difficult circumstances.
Rafa,
so
I I was wanting to ask, not just in regards to, because I do appreciate, especially back in Germany, very highly regarded. I was also wondering in terms of psychologically for Danny Rohl. He obviously is a very confident guy. He's coming into a difficult situation. He's backing himself. I'm just wondering if you think that if this was to go south and not work out, do you think that's the sort of thing that could perhaps shudder his internal belief and affect him going forward?
Are you talking about his personality? Can he step up to this, Michael?
Well, I think he's a pretty tough guy. I mean, he doesn't come across it because he's very nice, very softly spoken. He speaks in a strong Saxon accent in Germany, which he doesn't come across as much in English. But he doesn't strike me like a guy who's going to start asking questions of himself. I think the only question he might ask himself if it doesn't work out is whether that was the wrong decision to take on his behalf. I think he will probably not blame himself. He will probably think, okay, once again, I'm sort of thwarted by the circumstances because I haven't been backed, or it's just too difficult to do a normal job here, as it was at Sheffield Wednesday ultimately. But I just don't see how it's going to affect him and his confidence. I think he's done enough already to be secure in his own convictions.
Yeah, and I think also just going back to his experience, Rafa, if it's okay, if you don't mind, just will be some people tuning in tonight who don't know the context here, who don't know what he's done in football so far. You mentioned that a lot of the kind of work he's done so far has been as an assistant, but we're talking really at the top level with some top managers, aren't we?
Yeah, and the main one, I mean, you can Google him, of course, and a lot of people will, I'm sure, start doing that now that he's Rangers coach. But I think it's really worth saying that he was an instrumental part in the Bayern team that smashed all the records in terms of trophies. I think it was 6 trophies in 12 months they won, including, of course, the Champions League and the Club World Cup. And he was really, I don't want to say the brains, but he was very, very influential when it came to the tactical setup of this team, because Hansi Flick, who was himself an assistant, of course, before and had never coached at this level as a head coach before stepping in at Bayern in 2020, he relied and leaned a lot on Rohl and his sort of details on the training ground. And the proof was in the pudding. Bayern played at a level that hadn't been seen since Pep Guardiola, slightly more direct, slightly more chaotic at times defensively, as Barcelona with that super ultra high line, but they more often than not suffocated teams. I think he himself has modified that style, knowing that you can't play like that with players who don't have quite the same ability. Yeah. But I think he has a lot of experience in working with players and managing them. And I think if anyone can connect with his players, I wouldn't be surprised if he finds a really great rapport with the dressing room.
Yeah. So Leipzig, Bayern success there, the German national team as well. So what kind of style are you talking? Is it the high pressing, intense football that you see in the past from some of the Leipzig teams? Is that what shaped him, Rafa? Is that what Rangers fans can expect to see at Ibrox?
Yeah, I think his conviction is or his ideal way to play is a 4-2-3-1 with high pressing and dominating the ball and winning it back as quickly as possible. But I must admit, I haven't seen that many Sheffield Wednesday games under him. I don't know if that's been a little bit watered down by the quality of players available and by the lack of coaching time that you get, especially in the Championship. But if he could draw from, on a white paper what he would like to play, then I think these are the kind of principles that he stands for and his conviction. And I think it's a very good fit. We've seen that already, I think, in the Premier League. It's a very good fit with British-style football because a lot of the elements, the directness, the verticality, the pressing, I think really chimes very well with what fans and players want to do and want to see. But of course, with a slight difference, perhaps, that what you do with the ball is maybe a little bit slower, a little bit more delicate if you go after the Guardiola way or more into Flick and Klopp, which are much more sort of helter-skelter rock and roll style. But he's got both. And I think he's going to try and play entertaining football, very successful football if possible. And I think he's got enough, at least in my conviction, my experience, to give him the benefit of the doubt that he should be trusted with a bit of time to do a job there.
He's got to win, and quite quickly. There's a European game just around the corner. I think that's the pressure. But it sounds like from what you're saying, Rafa, if they give him a chance, there's a good opportunity that he can turn things around here. So incredible insight. Right, last one, Mikey. Go and give Rafa one more before we let him get back to that red wine.
I just want to ask about obviously, he's very young in terms of as a manager. Is he somebody that would be more comfortable with the director of football role rather than being viewed as a manager who's going to be taking control of the transfers? Is that something that you think he would fit into that mould that Rangers are clearly looking for as a head coach rather than a manager?
Yeah, look, all German managers have been raised in that system. No German manager has ever been able, at least in the last 60 years, to say, I want this player, I want that player sold. It's always been 2 or 3 people above him, next to him, underneath him. The exact dynamics depend on how powerful the manager is, how much he's done, how much he has a say. But German clubs work on the basis that managers don't tend to stick around, but players do a little bit longer. So you cannot just change the team every 2 years when you change your manager. And he will know that, and he will know that he's not going to be able to now say, I need 11 new players or I need 4 new players, because Rangers don't operate that way. And none of the clubs that he's worked for in the past have worked that way. Certainly not Sheffield Wednesday for other reasons. But no, I don't see that as a problem. Of course, they still have to be on the same page as far as the same ideas, the same principles. If he wants, a fast winger and he gets bought a small number 10, that's not going to work. So they still need to be on the same page and aligned in their vision. But the idea that there's somebody else that actually does the scouting and the selling and the buying, that's going to be very familiar to him.
Well, the pressure, no doubt, Rafa, at the moment is at board level at Rangers now. Whether or not Danny gets a chance or not, the fans are not happy with the board. So we'll see how it plays out. Listen, I'll let you run. Rafa, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Great to see you. We'll catch up soon.
Anytime.
Thank you, Rafa. Right, Alan, you've heard what Rafa has had to say about maybe style of play, the experience that Danny Royal's got. It's a risk, but does it convince you a little bit more now of the background of the possibilities here?
Yeah, I understand everything Rafa's saying, and I get it, and I take it on board. But I don't know, when he was talking, what was coming to mind was like, Michael Beale was meant to be the brains behind Steven Gerrard. He came in and took the job. Didn't work. Like, there was just certain situations. Russell Martin came in that wants to dominate the ball, play from the back, be aggressive, go and press. It's like, I'm hearing all the same things. The proof is in the pudding. I mean, he's going to have to hit the ground running instantly. I mean, you sign the day.
In Norway, by the way,
you've got a game Thursday, right? So you've got hardly any time to get your points across. You're going to have to simplify it all down and then go from there. But we're ultimately going to have to wait and see. If the hierarchy get this one wrong, I mean, it's going to go into absolute meltdown. Like, seriously. And that's why I think it's the biggest. Mikey, I liked your question when you asked about mentally, his mentality. He's never had to cope with this. All right, he's been at big clubs, but he's been number 2. You're not in the hot seat. So you're going into an atmosphere that's toxic at times and having to turn it around instantly. What if the results don't go his way for the first few weeks? I mean, it's a big job.
I'll just briefly, because we're nearly out of time, but just on Kevin Thelwell, right, and in the board, can they last now anyway? Because even if this manager's a success, it wasn't the first choice. It wasn't. I think
it'll be very difficult.
God knows where he actually came on the list. So whatever happens here, they've landed with him, right? But with the signings as well and the way they're playing right now, is there any way that Kevin Thelwell will manage to continue in this role long term? Because the fans have turned.
Right. See, the thing, the opinion might change if the manager comes in now and he gets the best out of the players that are there and they start winning games. That's the only way it's going to turn. I mean, I'm with you right now as it stands. The recruitment's not been good enough.
It was a mess.
The appointment of the manager was not good enough. The debacle with everything trying to get a new manager in wasn't good enough. I mean, that baffles me to this day, Michael. Like, seriously, we spoke about it a number of times. In the situation you're in, for you to make that decision, I don't think you should be in that position.
Astonishing. We'll see how it plays out. Absolutely astonishing. Listen, we had some great guests on, some great insight in the programme this week. We got through a lot there. I don't know how we managed to do that in an hour. Some huge games to come in Premier Sports this weekend. I know you guys will be there on Sunday. Aberdeen Hibs. I'm really looking forward to watching that Also in the league upcoming, St Mirren Hibs, Kilmarnock, Dundee United, they're both in November, and the Premier Sports Cup semi-finals right at the start of November. Motherwell, St Mirren, November the 1st, November the 2nd. Celtic against Rangers. Some brilliant games to come. Guys, thank you very much tonight. We will see you again next Monday on The Social Club. Bye for now.